Welcome back to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And we're going to continue our discussion on how to use the crystal ball. In the first video, we basically kind of went over like it's a good idea to do a light meditation and add some grounding techniques to your practice, some centering techniques. Um, you could say intentions if you like, and then also really grasp creating a circuit, run energy. So once you got your pose, so once you're grounded and you're centered, you're now in a position structurally that energy can flow through your body better. And because I practice Western mystery school, Western mystery magic, I do the middle pillar. Uh, I just literally focus on a line of energy coming down, or moving up or both. And that cleanses and clears and realigns everything that needs to happen to do magic. So it's fundamental. So every magician, every wizard, whatever you like to call yourself, however you identify, it's not so important. It's way more important that you have some foundation, simple practice to come back to on a daily basis, to learn to really self contain. So when we have, and so magic has a branch of, you could call it psychology, mental health, and well being. In fact, I was even thinking about opening up a practice of occult um, psychology, because rituals and magic are kind of like psychology. And it's not the psychology that you're presented with in therapy and just believe and intention. That's very surface level. When you really start to we won't go too far into it. But when you really start to connect the dots through learning magic, then you really start to understand how magic and the occult practice helps you master psychology, utilize it, become the technician of psychology. And so in Western practice, you can learn about psychology, you can go to psychology, you can get analyzed, but you don't really get to be the master programmer. Uh, by understanding the occult, you actually get to be the one designing it and work like molding and shaping it. So you'll understand like the inner principles of psychology. And I'm going to tell you, it is not the subconscious. And it's not that three model that, conscious, super consciousness, and the conscious plane. So the conscious plane is this, that which we know. The unconscious is that which we don't know. That's supposedly much bigger and in control of everything. We give it all this power. We associate it with the dark and the feminine and the shadow. And then your super consciousness is that greater version of you with the archetypes and the gods, and beyond you, like the universe has consciousness. Yes, I'm going to say that's all true, and that's only like a quarter of the story. Okay? Through the occult practice of Western Mystery School teachings, that can be revealed to you. So, a lot of the revelation that happens, a lot of the mastery of the occult, it's not in the books, but it is in the books. But you have to go through the transformational process of doing the work to have these revelations, because it takes a different level of consciousness um, from what you have now. By doing the work, it transforms your consciousness, it expands your consciousness, it develops your consciousness, and then you understand. Then your new consciousness can perceive what was right in front of your eyes. So what was now invisible is now made visible. So this is why having a simple practice that you can do every day, months, days, years, can have profound, self realizing, God realizing consequences. So it comes with a simple warning. Once you start, you can't stop. Once you start, it changes you, and all you can do is resist it, and that will cause problems in your life because you started the transformation from caterpillar into chrysalis into the monarch butterfly. Okay, you're transformed. Like you, so the kind of, I'm gonna throw out that warning. Magic is packaged and sold to you as a product to serve you in materialistic ways. And yes, it can do that to an extent, but usually all those things that it can do for you, you could do yourself. You could talk to your boss and ask for that raise. You could modify your ego, your personality, your personal hangups, become more pleasant, and attract those friends, lovers, and that promotion. So, most magic is sold for lazy people who want to kind of move behind the scenes and manipulate. That would be, I would call, the perversion of magic that's sold, you know. Uh, and yeah, we're all going to do some of that, but I'm opening you up to help you realize magic in itself is a spiritual discipline. It's a path of enlightenment. Um, it's a form of yoga. It is a form of prayer. It is a way to connect to the gods. It's a way to transform yourself and evolve. It is so much more. And this is the most, so working with the crystal ball can be one of the most dangerous things you ever, out of all the tools, the crystal ball could be way more deadly than the sword, than the dagger, than your pentacle. It could be more deadly than a Ouija board. So I'm letting you know that truth, and I can only speak from my experience. So when I made my very first black mirror on my own before I went to the mystery school, I decided, you know, I took an old clock and it had the convex glass on it, kind of like a bubble. It was like a 7x7 round glass bubble. So, I threw the clock out, kept the frame, flipped it around, sprayed it black, and I'm like, it needs to be convex. It needs to bow inward, I did that. And then I set it on my altar as a teenager, and I was just in my room. It was afternoon. The sun is shining. My parents are upstairs. I'm just like a teenager who won't get a job living in his parents' basement. And my face, I was being sucked into the portal. I had to hold my arms outside of the little wooden frame. And wasn't my physical body going in, it was my astral body being sucked in. How foolish was I to assume, because I made it myself with some black spray paint, that the form, the function and form are kind of one and the same. Because it was convex, it had a sucking, pulling energy. And guess what was on the other side of the black mirror to meet me? in the astral plane, there were two like Egyptian dressed priests. They took my astral body, laid it on this table, and they shoved a giant like gold metal pipe through uh, just below my rib cage. So basically, right into my belly. And I physically felt it on the other side in my physical body, what was happening in this other dimension, in this black place. And did I get all scared and think it was demons and monsters? No. I so I had to push myself out physically. So it was like my face was getting magnetized right into the black hole. It was just like boom. And I had to like push myself away. And I went, whoa. And I went, maybe my magical dagger is there on my altar for a reason. And maybe it would be a good idea. So I, trial by fire, you know, out of the frying pan into the fire, basically. And I was like, the reality, so I was lucky. And I was like, the reality of that, it could have been 10 times worse. 10 times worse. If those entities on the other side of the black mirror were way more powerful than me and wanted to do something worse, I could see me being put into a crazy hospital for the rest of my life. I could see myself being a homeless person after that. It can ruin your mind. So, because it's, you can get sucked into these things. So, that's not even the first crazy experience I've had with the crystal ball. So, if you're going to do things like astral projection, work with the crystal ball, uh, more intense things like for reals, then yeah, if you're a weak-willed person, if you don't know who you are, if you don't have, if you're not like have a strong personality, then working in magic can be highly deadly to you, dangerous. It would be like working in a nuclear power plant and not knowing what you're doing. You don't have the instruction manual. So it would be best to go to school. It would be best to listen. It would be best to respect the powers. So we see a lot of people playing with tarot. We see a lot of people playing with other cultures' spirituality, and telling you they're going to teach you. We see a lot of people playing with plant medicines and things like that. But if you're already naturally gifted, and or well, I'm just going to tell you, it can be very deadly. Uh, now that you know that, you don't need to be paranoid, but you can take some precautions. So you need to decide if you're at a place in your life where you're willing to take the risks. And I'm not going to tell, and you don't need to get all afraid, be a weirdo. But you could be like, maybe if I really learn how to ground, maybe if I really know how to center myself, these very basic, universal kind of yoga, new age things, maybe their real application is more powerful than we know. So I'm saying literally, if you can ground and feel the weight in your body till you feel like, wow, I think I weigh a half a pound more. Congratulations, you've learned how to call in your energy and your power. Congratulations, you finally learned how to get back into your body, get back into the car, your body. And now and when you do that, your energy will come back to you, and then you can start to command it. So it's highly important that you're able to command your body, command your energy, and get back into your aura So people get spaced out because they're all over the place and they think they're having spiritual experiences. You're having you fractured your aura. You've, it's like you've chopped yourself up, but you really can't die. So you can feel your hand and you can feel your leg and you can see your head. And what you've done is you've rolled down the car windows and you threw your body parts out on this scenic drive. And you're like, wow, I think I see a tree. I think I feel an apple. I think I'm kicking a rock. And your spirit, your consciousness is going, you're such an idiot. You just ejected yourself out of your body in pieces. And because you're all separated and chopped up, which psychologists call dissociative disorder, and then even worse, BPD, you know, all your psychological symptoms is mostly because you've thrown yourself out of your car windows. You know, you wrote, who knows what's out there, a tiger, a lion, and you think you're evolving, you think you're getting spiritual and you're growing. I'm like, you're doing it the hard way. It's much better to come on, put all your parts back together, wholeness, completeness. Now get in the car, please roll up the windows. So, do you see how hard it is to actually teach people magic when they have all these other ideas and there's so many other people out there handling simple powers inappropriately? Do you see how there's a lot of ego involved? And it's very, very dangerous. But now that you know the precautions and you know the dangers, and I think, you know, a car is the perfect uh, symbol analogy to help you understand that you do need your car to get to point A to point B. And if there's lions and tigers out there, get in the car, roll up the windows, don't be blasting crazy music, don't be putting on strange perfumes that are going to drive the animals outside wild because they can smell through the cracks. Now you're safe. You now, so you take these precautions and then you don't need to ask for help from your angels. You take precautions. So setting space, casting a circle, calling the quarters, that was all to help you get back in the car and maybe even fortify it. You know, don't bring any meat on this drive that's going to attract problems. Don't bring your baggage along. So usually level 1 in magical training is to, hey, you got a lot of baggage, it's time to clear out. If you don't clear this stuff out, I can't graduate you to level 2. So do the inner work, your psychology, change your behavior in your life. So anyways, let's move on. So now let's get back into the crystal ball. If I went on my little rant, because I don't want my students to die. I don't want my viewers to die. I don't want you to be in the crazy house following another crazy person who's taken LSD or something and now they think they're talking to spirits. Yeah, they are, but their head is in another dimension. Their body is in this other dimension and their genitals are somewhere else here on earth. So no wonder why they want all your money, because they can't get their crap together. But it looks good on YouTube and they read a few books. They don't care about you. They care about your money and using you. They care about looking cool, looking goth, they want to look the part at your expense. I don't want to do that. So I've really tried through my videos not to do that at your expense. Okay, so let's move on. Your crystal ball is a container. So besides a focusing device, which I shout out to the manager way back when I worked at Glyphics. Shout out to Amber, who presented that information or said it or read the label. You know, it stuck in my mind. And it was one of the most useful statements ever. It's like, I respect my tools, but I don't give my power away to my tools. Okay? I respect the fire, but I don't give my power away to the fire. Um, I mean, so anyways, and now the container part. So your crystal ball is also a screen, which is very useful because you think of your mind projecting the images through your eyes back out on a screen. Cool. The art of scrying or crystal gazing is that easy. So when we link it with psychic powers and psychic abilities, our mind is what it's all about. It's our mind that reaches out into past, present, future, multiple dimensions, higher states of consciousness, higher planes and lower planes. It's our mind that can interact with forms and other beings and communicate. It's a mind connection, and it's already there. You're becoming more aware of it, but we're focusing it through the lens of our mind, through the lens of our awareness, I should say. And we're learning to have an outer projection versus an inner projection. So that's literally the only difference between meditating and looking inward, having the vision inward, and opening up your eyes and using your crystal ball as a screen. Okay. But it goes to another level because you might actually be moving through these dimensions, communicating with actual beings. So they're not, so they may, on one level, just be holographic projections within your crystal ball, but your crystal ball can contain those energies. It can hold that space like a magic circle. So even though you might be similar to me and have a lot of your visions outside the crystal, it's good to be able to control your visions and put it back in on the screen within your crystal ball. And this gives you the ability to handle and work with energies and create a barrier and a boundary. It's almost like you take that whole entire universe and contain it within a universe. So a sphere can contain a whole world. A sphere, I love the spheres, honestly. And I'm going to say a lot of things that have become favorites for me go against my personality. They go against my ego. They go against, ooh, that would be cool. That thinking part of my brain that's building that character and identity. It's like a sphere. But as I learn about it, as I work with it, as things are revealed to me through my own process, that's pretty cool. So a sphere represents wholeness. Uh, so it can represent total healing. A sphere, because it's whole and complete, it can represent a whole entire being. It can represent a whole universe. Therefore, it can contain. So say you're working with an entity, you can contain all that energy within your sphere. If that energy, because it's a different frequency, not of human origin, it may be best to put it on an altar or a stand or on the floor or in the corner of your somewhere else where you're guided to do that, because those frequencies can harm you. Because fire can harm you. That's why we have a fireplace and a candle and in a safe container, and that's why you don't leave things unattended. You don't summon an entity into a crystal ball and then go make yourself lunch. Don't you think that crystal ball is a portal now? So this is another thing. If you actually get to the level where you're moving through dimensions and you're having the visions within the crystal ball, like a VR reality, that's the time where you really want to start respecting it. Like I do have my crystal balls out in my room, but no one goes in my room. So the room itself contains all that. But if I'm going to invite someone into my space, those crystal balls are being put away, clothed, put in a box. they're going to go in lockdown because now there are open portals and windows and doors into other spaces that my guests, friends, family members, they haven't done the work. They don't know how to deal with those things. So entity possession is a possibility depending upon what you're doing. Or their energy can also throw off the energy of your magical tools. So it's always best to keep them covered, keep them sealed when not in use, kind of set apart from everyday items. Uh, so we're wrapping up this video with a few minutes left. And now that we're thinking about our crystal ball as a container, you can take that pretty far. You can be like, wow. So when you're working with your higher self, your crystal ball can be loaded with those energies. You can channel it in, and then you can, and so then it quickly gets into attracting and repelling entities, and then we, in a very roundabout way, it was a lot about boundaries. So really defining what's in my crystal ball is a space for this to happen. This is my will. This is in my intention. This is my word. This is my behavior. These are like my actions, ritualized actions that say this is how it is. So that's how it is. So for some people, they will have to take a cloth, wrap it up, and put it in a box and tie it off. For someone else who might have a much stronger will, they might, through the art of visualization and imagination, create one in the astral plane and wrap it around. And obviously, if they can have the gift of clairvoyance, they can see the actions done, so they can do it that way, or you might draw a symbol that you trust to bind your own tools. And so you have to be able to bind and unbind your tools for use and for storage. So the art gets very advanced very fast. Because of this, you might as well slow down, because it's better to go slow. Because if it's so advanced and so much can be happening, if you slow it down, you get to see all the Easter eggs. You get to slow down, you get to see all the nuanced things that are happening. And so it actually accelerates your learning process. So I really enjoy the development of abilities. And while you're developing your powers, in a weird way, you're using your powers. And you're using them for yourself. And so it increases your personal power, and it also increases your knowledge. And so it's like a win-win. And so you can leave others out of your magical development process, because seriously, it's like, why get involved in energy wars? Why get involved in magical wars? Why? It's just taking your energy, it's taking your attention away. It's better to just kind of go into your little hut, glow up, and then come out as a demigod. Then come out super powerful, and then you don't have to do anything because you'll be so strong. And I can testify to that. I got into a war, like a magical war recently, with a coworker, and he had his strengths and I had my strengths, but I felt like my strengths were better, because I had willpower and because I had clairvoyance on my side. He had energy and poison, like he had poisonous energy on his side, and actually an entity, but because I could see it, I was aware of it. And because I had such a strong will, it didn't matter what happened in the long run, I won. And then he gets to live with the fact that he lost. He also gets to live with the fact that whatever he summoned and the maximum of his power, there's someone out there that it didn't destroy, that it didn't work. And so, talk about, so he started off because his ego was bruised. And then he ended with more bruised ego. Like, you ain't all that. And I attribute that to just kind of always having a magical spiritual life and practice. Uh, so, yeah, this is how you work with your crystal ball. Those are my literal 3 tools or tips. See it as a focusing device, see it as a screen, and see it as a container. And then do a light meditation. So we're just kind of recapping these 2 videos. Start off with a light meditation. Ground to attract back your energy and self. Because we are multidimensional beings occupying spaces that we are not aware of. It's good to create that anchor. Find your center. So much psychological problems heal themselves when you really take seriously grounding and earthing, centering. Find your breath. Find your healing breath. Find your focus. So you see how I had to do all this with just me? Not even my tool yet. And now, so you're doing great. Now you can play with your magical tools. And you can focus on your crystal ball, and you'll have, everything will go so much better. Okay. And then coming back is another thing. Like, I've gone on weird, crazy 20-minute trips with my crystal ball. It looked like just crazy, mind bending, crazy stuff. No psychedelics, but it was very psychedelic. And then to come back and then have to go to work or be serious is kind of dangerous. You're in a totally different mindset. So, kind of like reversing your steps is important. Take your energy out of your crystal ball. I know it was exciting and fun, and you probably had a really cool experience. And then kind of ground, center, breathe. Do something to close off your ritual. You know, it could be putting on your belt, could be putting back on your ring. Really affirm that you're now in this dimension, so you don't have, so you don't, lose your car keys or get so when you find that you're having